Hi, I'm Izzy Kirish, owner of Hospitality Works Consulting, and today's video is going to focus on opening a restaurant. And we're talking with Mel Thillens, who is the owner of Mel's Barbecue in Park Ridge, Illinois. And we're going to do this video in two parts. Today we're going to be talking about how Mel got started in getting the restaurant ready to open, and next we'll talk about after the opening day. So Mel, thank you for coming. How did you come up with this idea? I mean, you were not in the barbecue business a year ago.
No, I was running a different business, family business that my grandfather had started, but I'd always had a dream to open up a restaurant. I'm one of those backyard barbecue guys that got more and more into backyard barbecuing and going places, trying barbecue, and eventually became pretty obvious that I was really wanting to open up a barbecue place.
You were destined
to open a barbecue, that's right.
So, you know, what makes you like the perfect customer for me, and really for a successful business, is that you didn't start in the restaurant business. And that for you, the most important thing was the business aspect. You understand financials, putting together the business plan, and how to run a business. So you've run the business for a while, but you came at it from a business aspect. So,
well, that's right. The you know, accounting is accounting, employees are employees, you know, revenue is revenue, expenses are expenses. But I did know enough to know that I didn't know certain things that happened in the restaurant business. That's why I needed someone like you to help me kind of guide the way. And your help definitely helped me understand the differences between any other business and the restaurant business, and helped me kind of think of the things that I wouldn't have come up with on my own had I just sat down to do a business plan, all the little things that you don't necessarily realize until you're kind of neck deep in it.
Yeah, and again, I think keeping that business aspect has been very helpful. So, I mean, my part, I brought Tom Yulo in for design, and we've talked to Tom, and that was helpful. I talked a little bit about the barbecue places that you and I and Tom went just to dip our feet into the barbecue world.
That's right.
But you went to Texas. Talk about how many of the barbecues you went to.
I mean, well, after I decided that I was definitely going to be doing this, I actually went to Texas 3 more times. I'd been all over the South trying barbecue just as a tourist for fun. Wherever I was, I always tried to get some barbecue. But after that, I went down to Texas 3 more times, and I was lucky enough to make some connections down there. And people in the barbecue world are always fun and welcoming and willing to share. So I got to talk to some of the owners of some of the best barbecue places in Texas. Down in Texas, they're really killing it with barbecue. They've kind of taken barbecue to a whole new level. And so that's why I was so inspired by what they were doing down there and kind of wanted to bring it up here.
The kitchen. I mean, you know, the heart of a restaurant is the kitchen.
That's right.
But the heart of your kitchen is this unbelievable smoker. How did you choose that smoker to build your restaurant around?
Well, a lot of places these days are using an offset 1,000-gallon propane tank smoker. But because of code issues up in Cook County, Illinois, that doesn't necessarily work. Plus, it's not as efficient. Most of these places in Texas are doing it, cooking outside. So I had to find a place that was all, I knew I wanted to cook over all wood. No gas, no electricity. I wanted all the heat and the smoke to come from wood. In my travels, I was talking to everybody who had all sorts of different kinds of smokers, and I found this one that's made in Texas. It's a rotisserie style that with a insulated firebox in the back. And I knew once I tasted some of the stuff that was coming out of the stuff that they were doing down there, that we could use it up here and get the results we wanted.
And then, I mean, it's the fun part was, you know, tasting the barbecue, going all over, finding the smoker.
That's right.
But again, part of the adventure for me and Tom, before we did anything in the restaurant, was to go find somebody who had the smoker.
That's right.
So that we could taste it. And the guy that we ended up working with...
We found Ryan down in Southern Illinois, and he's doing great stuff down there. But yeah, we stopped by him, and he was doing basically truck. He was selling food out of a truck. Now he's got a brick and mortar, but back then he was still selling stuff out of a truck, and he was cooking in his garage with this giant smoker. That was a fun evening.
Yeah, it was a great trip. And then, I mean, the fun part was we couldn't even meet him till like 10 or 11 at night, because that's when he was loading it and getting everything ready for the next day. So again, the start, you know, is having the idea. But having an idea of, I want to open up a barbecue restaurant, is not so simple, right? You need exactly the right smoker and technique.
And then we took that smoker, once we figured out what we needed. It was one of the first things I ordered, I'm sure you remember, and we had to pop a hole in the wall over here just to get the thing in the building, and we built the whole day and restaurant around it.
Yeah, that was a part that wasn't planned for, that the smoker would be so big that we actually had to take the building apart and put it back together to get that in.
Yeah.
So the other pieces of the pie, and I'm trying to focus on everything we did pre-opening. So we had Tom involved. We got a kitchen designer involved to start to take the menu, get the right equipment, and then the contractor. So just talk about those experiences.
So yeah, that was interesting. We had to, first of all, Tom was great. He immediately understood what I was trying to do and what I wanted the place to look like. He traveled with us to see a couple of the places. And when I was on my trips to Texas, I was taking pictures of stuff that I thought was cool and sending it back to him. And he was helping me find the tables, the chairs. This mural is part of his ideas, just the general vibe of the place, which I think came out great. Tom was key in making sure that all happened the way it needed to. And then the kitchen design was another thing. You think of all the things you want to sell, and then you need, I needed somebody with restaurant experience to tell me what equipment I needed to make sure that all those came out, because I was just a home cook. So we laid it out, and then we looked at it, and we moved some stuff around, looked at it again, found some used equipment, moved it around again. I think it was frustrating Barry a little bit. Barry was the restaurant, the kitchen designer. But we eventually came out with a great plan, and it works out great.
And again, I think a lot of people get into the restaurant business and they don't realize how important, where you put that equipment, right? Exactly the placement, because if you put it in the wrong place, you could end up driving your labor costs higher because you need 1 or 2 extra people to run the kitchen. So that was a huge discussion.
Yes.
And you're right, we moved things back and forth until we got exactly the right positioning. But the dish room, again, these are topics that most people don't think about, and I'm sure you didn't think about it until you opened a restaurant.
Yeah, it's key, obviously. You've got to make sure that everything can come in and come out. If you don't have clean dishes, you can't serve food. So you got to make sure that the guy working in the dish room can handle everything as it comes in, get it out to where it needs to go. And it's one of those things that, as a guy who hadn't been in the restaurant industry, I kind of thought there was one answer for that. I need a dish room. Oh, here's what a dish room looks like. But that's not true. You need to know exactly what your space looks like, where your stuff's going, how it's coming in and out. And there's more than one answer to all these questions. But if you get it right for yourself, there's one answer for you. But it isn't always the same answer for every restaurant on the planet.
Right. But again, that design, we moved that dish room around 2 or 3 times.
We did.
Turned it a bunch of different directions, but now, again, it's crucial that the dishes get in, they get washed, they get done very quickly, back to the dining room, so we never run out of stuff.
That's right.
And it's huge. So those are a lot of the key factors that we looked at, besides, of course, building up the financing and figuring out how much it was going to cost. So I'm going to stop this discussion right here before we get to our next one about what it's like to run a restaurant. Thank you so much for watching another Hospitality Works video. Make sure to leave a comment below. Hit the subscribe key, and it's very important today to make sure to hit the bell, because you'll be looking for part 2 with Mel on running a restaurant. Thank you so much for watching a Hospitality Works video. Really appreciate it, and make sure to hit the like button.